All right, so we're going to come into page.php, change the template name to frontpage.php, and then save it as frontpage.php. Okay, so now we have frontpage.php, and it should be running and pulling in the same actual template as page.php. So let's just check that this is all working and we have our site set up correctly. All right, so on my site, the first thing that I want to point out is that we want to come into the customizer static front page and then set it to a static front page, in my case, home. And when we do that, we could see that we are calling in frontpage.php. Before that, it was using page.php. Now, it looks pretty much the exact same. And actually, we don't really need to worry about changing this in our case. We could potentially, but what I'm going to show you is how to create a different layout with some more widget options, because that's a common thing you might see. So coming back into our code here, we're going to leave this the same. You could either rip this out and put in your own custom content, but we're still going to be using the default content. You might want to put in a hero graphic or something else custom maybe before that loop, but we're going to leave that the same. What we're going to change is pull this get sidebar out from outside, and then we're going to put it inside of our primary div. So what we're going to do with get sidebar is actually change this to be front. Now we haven't set that up, so we're going to have to go set up a widget area called front, or let's call it front page, inside our functions.php. But the other thing I want to add is to my primary div, I want to set up a class called extended. And what this is going to do is make my primary area 100% width, and then I'll add some extra CSS at the end to make my sidebar full width. So we'll get a 3-column layout with some widget options there. So we have basically everything here. We're going to need to go into our functions.php file and our style.css. So let's come into our functions.php, come down to where we have all of our sidebars set up, and basically just copy this one. And we'll rename it to front page widgets. The ID is going to be front page, and add widgets for the front page here, and everything else could stay the same. So now we should see a new widget area, and we just want to come in to our CSS, and I'm going to add one other thing. Come down to where we have our secondary. And I'm just going to throw in these extra 2 lines here. Home secondary width 100, home secondary widget area width 30. So you could definitely use some more modern techniques or better layouts for if you wanted to grid this or just set up columns a different way, but a crude way that's going to work just to demonstrate what I'm trying to show off. Again, all of this is foundation stuff, deep stuff that you're going to then tweak and customize as you go. So you could figure out another approach to the CSS here, just a simple solution. And now we could hop into the front end of our site, and hopefully this should all be working. Oh, I have to mention home.secondary. This is automatically going to display a class of home with our body class tag, and that will allow us to control our CSS that way. So handy little thing there. Let's hop over to the front end now. So now when I refresh things, we could see that these widgets are not appearing exactly as we probably want. Okay, so this is showing main sidebar, and you know what? I've realized we forgot something here. We got one extra step we've got to do. And if we come back into our code, we can see we're calling get sidebar front page, and we set that up to dynamically work, but we didn't actually build the template called sidebar dash front dash page. So let's come into our sidebar page and just do a save as sidebar front page. Okay, now this is where we could change this to be front page, and we'll update that down here as well to say front page. Okay, now everything should be properly working. And when we come back over to our site and refresh, we can now see front page widgets. Okay, that's perfect. And we could just add in some simple text widget. And as we begin to add new widgets, we'll add a third one, and we can see what's happening here. So of course, you could do more with this, and I would hope that you would if you're building out your site. But I want to point out that this is a fairly common approach where on your homepage you might have some static content up here, maybe even a hero above it, which is a big, large image, which you could do a widget area, you could build a custom plugin for. And as we go through this course, we'll discover more options for something like that. However, adding these widget areas to the homepage so that you could dynamically or easily customize and change what that content is from the front end and link to different things, or basically anything that you could have a widget there. So if you wanted to pull in a third-party widget via a plugin or something, you could throw that right on the homepage pretty easily. So that's our front page.php. And again, if we don't have this, it's going to fall back to page.php. And if we change, let's come in just to demo this in a final step, static front page, and let's change it to our latest posts, we can see that even though we have a front page.php, it's now, because it's pulling in the blog homepage, it's pulling in home.php. And if we scroll down, we should see, no, that is incorrect. Confusing here. This is one of those things. It is pulling in front page.php, but we could see it's still listing all of the blog posts. So you would think it would pull in the blog or the home.php because that controls the blog homepage setting, but it's actually pulling in front page.php. So this is where you might have some trouble if you're designing a custom site and you want to control the homepage to look a certain way, just if it's a static setup, and then look a different way if it is a blog homepage. Well, that's going to be a little bit tricky to do with the front page.php. So be aware that this is going to trump those other templates, and that may or may not present problems. It may be fine, but if you're building custom themes for other people or generic use, that may be an issue. So what we're going to look at in the next step is working with some custom templates that could be used for whatever you want, and that could be a way to kind of bypass this system and have a homepage template or have a blog homepage, things like that, a little bit easier. So what you need to do at this point is go ahead and follow the steps to catch up with where we are now, code everything out so that you can, on your home page, let me show the static page again, you could have the basic static page displaying and then have some custom stuff there. Now in your side project, really think about what is it that you want to display on the home page. You may want to be pulling in custom loops of content. You may want to be pulling in maybe template parts that are pulling in things, or you may want to have a custom widget setup just like this. So whatever that is, maybe you can't build your full potential of what your idea is. That's okay. We'll keep going further with this course, and you will eventually pretty much be able to build most of what you can imagine, or at least have a good starting point of how to approach it. However, for now, just try to do the best you can with the resources that you have, but do something a little bit special with your homepage. See how far you could get with it using some of the techniques that we've showed here. And then, as I mentioned, in the next step, what we'll look at is working with custom templates and how those could provide some other flexibility for bypassing kind of the template hierarchy in some of these scenarios.